Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced, and welcome to this third video in our MongooseJS video. And this one we're gonna talk about more like how to update, delete, and yeah, just how we'll talk about different ways to update, delete, and find and actually search for records. So now we created Ralph in the last one. So now we're gonna go to do lesson 3. Okay, so I'm gonna make a new file, lesson3.js. And I'm going to copy everything from the last video. Okay, and now what's going to happen here, we still want to basically keep everything the same. The only thing that's going to be different is what we do inside the function. Okay, so we're not going to create dogs anymore. We know that we have this dog called Ralph. Okay, and the couple things I want to show you. First, I want to show you how can I what if I want to get Ralph again? Last time we created him, so we got him back when we created him. But what if I know he's already there and I want to get Ralph? Okay, so let's search for a dog. Or search first. We'll do search for all dogs so we can see the difference. I can search for all dogs, which would then, so I would just say const dog equals dog dot find, and then I would just pass in an empty object, which just means it's going to find all dogs that match that particular query. Okay, so I do that, and again I want to use the await because again all of these methods are going to return a promise because again we don't know how long the database is going to take. And then I can console log the dog. Okay, so then we run that code, except now it's lesson 3. Okay, and let's take a look. And see, now notice it's not just one object. It's an object inside of an array. So you see the square brackets? And the reason why that's important is that later on when you refer to it in your code, you have to realize, hey, technically my Ralph, even though I only got one thing, it's still nested in an array. Find is always going to give you the results in an array because it doesn't know if it's going to find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What if you know you're only going to find 1? If I'm looking based on the ID, so see, I can grab this ID right here. If I know for sure that I know what the ID is, which a lot of times you will. Okay, what I could do is I could do something different. Okay, so we'll try a different thing. Search for one dog by ID. Okay, there's a method for that. Const dog equals await, except it's dog dot find by ID, and then I pass it the ID. Okay, and then that should give me the same result, except I'm only going to get one object, not an array of objects, because there's only going to be one dog, one object that actually has that ID number. So if I run this code again, and see we get just the object, and see it's not wrapped in an array this time. But what if I want to look for it for something other than its ID? I want to use maybe by its name. Okay, then what I can do, search for one dog by other properties. Well, then what I can do is I can use, again, do const dog equals await dog dot find one, and this will take the same criteria just like find, except it'll only return me the first thing it finds. So I only get one object back. I don't have to worry about an array or anything like that. That always gets me. I always accidentally use find. I forget that it's in an array, and then I constantly try to access the properties when I need to actually access an index first, then access the object. So that's why I'm pointing this out, because it's something that gets me every time. Find one, so I want to find the one whose name, and basically whenever you're filtering, when you're doing a search with find or find one, this is essentially, think of this as your search. So I'm saying, hey, I want to find the one that has a name of Ralph. Okay, and then if I run this, and I should find the same thing. See, there you go, we found Ralph. And the thing is that criteria can be anything. So let's say, let's just do another version of the same thing, except I'm going to basically, I want to say, find me all the dogs, or find me one dog whose age is above 5. Okay, I can declare dog equals await dog dot find one. So I'm gonna say, hey, I want to do this based on age, but I want to find the dog whose age is greater than. Okay, so that would be the property. So greater than, well, greater than or equal, greater than 3. And again, there's a lot of these operators. They always start, basically the way you use these operators are always like in an object, and then the property name is the operator, and then you pass the value. Then you can do like greater than, equal than, not equal than. There's all sorts of different ones. You can read like the Mongoose and Mongo documentation to learn all of them. Okay, I'm not gonna go through every single one, but you can see that you can do stuff like this. Okay, so if I run this, I should still end up finding Ralph, because Ralph is going to be the first dog that we should find that has an age greater than 3. It's the only dog. Okay, and then I find Ralph again. Cool. Now let's say I want to update Ralph. Okay, so we want to update Ralph. There's actually 2 ways we can update Ralph. Okay, so we're going to update Ralph using up, find, and update method. Okay, so we say const dog because we're going to get the dog back at the end. And we could use like find await dog dot find by ID. And you see like find by ID and delete. That'll just delete the thing that has the ID. Same thing with remove. And then find by ID and update. Okay, so what I want to do is first I want to give the ID of the thing I'm updating. So I'll just copy the ID from up here. So first you pass the ID. Then the second thing is you pass an object that sort of like represents like the new version of the dog. So what I want to do is change the age to 2. Okay. Now watch what happens. So watch what's going to happen in our console log, because this is always kind of a mind trip. So I'm going to run the code. And if I take a look at the console log, notice Ralph's age did not change. You're like, wait a second, I thought we said change it to 2. But if I look in the database and I refresh this, I'm going to refresh right here, refresh. Okay, see the age has changed, 2. The default behavior of the update method is to return you the old version, not the new version. Okay, so what if I do want the new version? Well, what you do is you add another property, and what is it again? I want to say if it's a return new. Yeah, I think it is new. Yeah, and then you say new true, meaning it'll return you the new object. So now if I change this to 4, so I'm going to change this age to 4, this time I should see the updated object when I do the console log, because it's returning me the new version, not the old version. And see, there it is, age 4. Okay, so we see how that works. I could also, again, I don't have to use find by ID and update. Const dog equals, and I can just use like find and, or I think it's just update dog dot update. Yeah, so we'll say like update 1. Update many is if you want to like update anything that matches. Update 1 is if you only want to update one that matches. Okay, I mean there's only one dog, so it doesn't really matter which one I use. We'll say update 1, and then I can say, hey, this time I don't want to update based on the ID, I want to update based on the name. So update the dog whose name is Ralph, or the first dog whose name is Ralph. And I want you to update them to be, age 7, and again, new true. Okay. And then we'll run that query again. And let's take a look at the results. And looks like I made a mistake somewhere. Query mongoose map. Oh, I forgot the word await. That's what happened. So that big console log was me console logging the promise, not the actual dog itself. So let me change the age again so we can just make sure that that new thing is working. Okay, that's done. And so basically for update, you don't get back the actual object. What you do is you get back this object that tells you the results. Okay, so that one's a little bit different. Okay, but we can see that one was modified. Okay, upserted means that like you were doing an update, but the thing didn't exist yet, so you added it. So basically what it does, even though like if it doesn't find a match, it'll still create the thing that you're updating. So it's been inserted via an update. But yeah, let me refresh this, see if it's 9. And yeah, it's 9. So it's working. Cool. So that's one way to update. The other thing you can do is you can update the individual dog directly. So I can query for the dog. So let's get Ralph. So we'll say const dog equals dog dot find one. Get me the dog whose name is Ralph. Okay, find one Ralph. And what I want to do is then now I have the dog object. So now this variable dog is the dog object. So instead of me running this update function, I can just change the dog directly because the dog has the property. So I can say dog.age now equals 13. But that doesn't automatically update the database. So whenever I'm done actually manipulating that individual object and saying, okay, hey, this dog that I just got from the database, I want to make these changes to it. When I'm done, I actually have to save it. So the dog, the model object, is going to have this save method built in. I do dog.save, and I'm going to want to await that because that is asynchronous. Okay, because again, anytime you save or write data to the database, that's asynchronous. Then we'll console log dog afterwards and see if that all works out the way I'd like. Okay, node lesson 3. Oop, something went off there. Dog.save is not a function. Did I forget the await? I did forget the await, that's why. There we go. Let's try that again. Oh, don't forget those awaits. Yep, and that seemed to work fine. Okay, you see like Ralph now has an age of 13. So the update did take. Okay, and just to make 100% sure, I'll refresh here in the database. And yep, Ralph is 13. Okay, so that's how you can update. Now removing is just as easy. So literally you can take any of these deletes that I did or updates that I did. So instead it would be find by ID and remove. It would be remove one. Like basically deleting you don't do anything different. So if you understand everything we've done now, you know how to do all the possibilities with any particular model to add a record, delete a record, insert a record, go get a record, and so forth. Okay, in the next couple lessons we'll talk about like how to work with sort of like related data. But for now I will wrap up this lesson and I'll see you guys later on.